Good morning, everyone. I'd like to call the April 6th JPS committee meeting to order. Looks like we do not have a physical quorum present, so under 70 of OMA, members can participate virtually. We do have the requisite officers present at our regular meeting location. Online in-person public comment has been provided for. We have health protocols in the room, so all of our votes are going to be roll call votes. Roll call, please.
Chair Renahan.
Here.
Member Chaplin.
Here.
Member Covert.
Here.
Member Desart.
Here.
Member Eckhoff.
Here.
Member Garcia.
Here.
Member Krajewski. Member Ozog.
Here.
Member Pachalski. Member Schwarzy. Member Selman.
Here.
Member Zay.
Here.
Member Krajewski's here.
Thank you.
Right. Thank you. Do we have any public comment?
No public comment.
Anyone in the room? No. So I hope everyone had a nice week off and holiday weekend. First off, I'd like to thank our Director of Homeland and Emergency Management, Murray Snow, for having me out to introduce his ISCS 300 Disaster Response and Recovery class. I think we're fortunate to have a master instructor, Kevin Serb, providing these classes at our very own facility on campus here. I'd also like to mention and thank Corey Moleran and Adrian Ocampo. They have done an amazing job over there with the PPE distribution and warehousing. If you have a chance to take a tour, I definitely recommend it. They took an old space and stored literally millions of pieces of PPE to protect our first responders, agencies, and residents. So great job and thank you. I would like to mention we will be having a follow-up on security at our forthcoming finance meeting and executive session. As regards Safety Act implementation, research is ongoing as to how other jurisdictions have undertaken body cam review and staffing. And we're working with some of those governmental bodies speaking and seeing how they've done their decision making. Finally, myself, the sheriff, and staff, we've all been working together over the past weeks. Oops, sorry. Don't expose myself here, right? We've been working together over the past weeks to refine the body cam proposal. There have been reductions in the request. There's been discussion of the product that can integrate best with our IT and our current protocols. And there's been additional discussion as far as funding mechanism and state grants. Timing is going to be an issue to qualify for state assistance and funding, grant funding, and our sheriff's team is going to be available here to answer any questions as we go forward today. With that, I'll entertain a motion to approve minutes of our regular JPS committee meeting of March 16th. A motion? Second, Pachalski, second. Questions, additions? Roll call, please.
Member Pachalski. Member Schwarzy.
Aye.
Member Selman.
Aye.
Member Zay. Chair Renahan.
Aye.
Member Chaplin.
Aye.
Member Covert.
Aye.
Member Desart.
Aye.
Member Garcia.
Aye.
I'm sorry, Member Eckhoff.
Aye.
Member Krajewski.
Aye.
Member Ozog.
Aye.
All right, thank you. Those are approved. I'll entertain a motion to approve budget transfers 53030 legal services to 50010 overtime and collective bargaining services for the circuit court $4,258.
So moved, Chaplin.
Second. Second, Pachalski, thank you. Questions, comments? Roll call, please.
Member Chaplin.
Aye.
Member Covert.
Aye.
Member Desart.
Aye.
Member Eckhoff.
Aye.
Garcia.
Aye.
Member Krajewski.
Aye.
Member Ozog.
Aye.
Member Pachalski. Member Schwarzy.
Aye.
Member Selman.
Aye.
Member Zay.
Aye.
Chair Renahan.
Aye. Thank you. That's approved. Moving on to resolutions, 7A is going to be pulled. Moving to 7B, I'll take a motion to approve FIR 22721, acceptance appropriation of U.S. Department of Justice, National Institute of Justice, DNA backlog reduction project grant, $366,245 for the sheriff's office.
So move, Zay.
Zay, second.
Chaplin. Second.
Do we have any questions?
Yeah,
Yes, Member Garcia.
quick question on this. I mean, I'm so happy to see that we're getting a grant on this, but I'm kind of just wondering, thank you so much. How many how many cases are backlogged? I'm afraid of the number, but I'm wondering if somebody can answer the questions. How many DNA backlog cases are there?
I say that's a great question. We actually have some people here from the crime lab. Please come up if you could answer that question. Thank you.
Hi, good morning. I'm Mary Margaret. I'm the DNA supervisor at the crime lab. And if you want to know the number of DNA cases backlog currently, we have approximately 65 cases on our backlog.
Oh, okay, that's less than I thought, so that's good. I was a little concerned that it was probably like
Yeah, the
thousands or
grant
something.
is a backlog capacity, so it can be used for supplies, for anything to help decrease the number of DNA cases or biology cases on the backlog.
All right, thank you so much for your answer.
Do you have any other questions from the committee? Comments, Member Krajewski?
I guess while you're there, do you know what the state backlog is?
No, I do not know their exact number, but I do know it is available on their website.
Okay, because last time we heard it was 6 months when we had turned around one of ours in a couple days.
Right, their timeline is at least 6 months for DNA, that's correct.
Hence why we really need to have this one on our county.
Any other comments, questions? I think we're fortunate to have our crime lab here. Thank you for coming today. We'll take a roll call, please.
Member Zay,
Aye.
Chair Renahan,
Aye.
Member Chaplin,
Aye.
Member Covert,
Aye.
Member Desart,
Aye.
Member Eckhoff,
Aye.
Member Garcia,
Aye.
Member Kajewski,
Aye.
Member Ozog,
Aye.
Member Pachowski, Member Schwarzy,
Aye.
Member Selman.
Aye.
All right, thank you. That's approved. I'll take an entertain a motion to approve FIR 22821. This is another acceptance and appropriation, U.S. Department of Justice, National Institute of Justice DNA Backlog Reduction Project Grant, $340,696 for the Sheriff's Office.
So moved. Horsey.
Second, Zay.
Questions, comments? Roll call, please.
Member Schwarzy,
Aye.
Member Selman,
Aye.
Member Zay,
Aye.
Chair Renahan,
Aye.
Member Chaplin,
Aye.
Member Covert,
Aye.
Member Desart,
Aye.
Member Eckhoff,
Aye.
Member Garcia,
Aye.
Member Kajewski,
Aye.
Member Ozog,
Aye.
Member Pachowski,
All right, thank you. That's approved. I'll take a motion to combine grant items 8A, B, and C.
So moved to Sarge.
Thank you. Second.
Garcia, second Garcia.
Thank you. Questions on combining those items? Roll call, please.
Member Desart,
Aye.
Member Eckhoff,
Aye.
Member Garcia,
Aye.
Member Kajewski,
Aye.
Member Ozog,
Aye.
Member Pachowski, Member Schwarzy,
Aye.
Member Selman,
Aye.
Member Zay,
Aye.
Chair Renahan,
Aye.
Member Chaplin,
Aye.
and Member Covert.
Aye.
All right, thank you. I'll take a motion to approve and accept those grants. We have a grant GPN 2421 State Criminal Alien Assistance Program from DOJ, $138,307.35 for the Sheriff's Office. GPN 2621 Donated Funds Initiative Grant, Illinois Department of Human Services, $77,339 for the State's Attorney's Office. And GPN 2721 Family Violence Coordinating Council, Illinois Criminal Justice Information Authority, $38,800.
So moved to Sarge.
Second.
Thank you. Questions or comments? All right, roll call, please.
Member Desart,
Aye.
Member Eckhoff,
Aye.
Member Garcia,
Aye.
Member Kajewski,
Aye.
Member Ozog,
Aye.
Member Pachowski, Member Schwarzy,
Aye.
Member Selman,
Aye.
Member Zay,
Aye.
Chair Renahan,
Aye.
Member Chaplin,
Aye.
and Member Covert.
Aye.
All right, thank you. Those are all accepted. Moving to procurement, I'll take a motion to approve JPS P 6721, approval of contract with Medline Industries for the sheriff for vinyl examination gloves for the jail, 5/1/21 through 4/30/22, not to exceed $60,000.
So move, Zay.
Second.
Second Chaplin.
Any questions? comments? Ms. Desart?
Thank you, Chairwoman Renahan. I just had a quick question about procurement. Does DuPage County procurement work across all departments for items in bulk like this? For example, these gloves could be used by the health department or the care center or other departments, or are items purchased more in silos in DuPage County?
Looks like we have Jeff Martinowitz coming up, CFO, to answer the question.
Well, for PPE that we just procured due to the pandemic, we did procure those types of goods, gloves, gowns, or whatnot for the entire county. We really are department specific in when we purchase goods like this. And I've talked to a couple other board members, and as far as procurement is concerned, that's something we got to work towards, is making all of these goods at the time of purchase across all county departments. So we try to coordinate that as best as we can, but it's a goal for procurement.
Great. Thank you, Jeff. I'm glad we have that goal. Thank you.
Any other questions on this item? Comments? Roll call, please.
Member
Thank
Zay,
Aye.
Chair Renahan,
Aye.
Member Chaplin,
Aye.
Member Covert,
Aye.
Member Desart,
Aye.
Member Eckhoff,
Aye.
Member Garcia,
Aye.
Member Krajewski,
Aye.
Member Ozog,
Aye.
Member Pachowski, Member Schwarzy,
Aye.
Member Selman.
Aye.
All right, thank you. That's approved. I'll take a motion to approve JPSP 6821 Trinity Services Group to provide inmate and officer meals at DuPage County Jail, May 1st, 2021 to April 30th, 2022, not to exceed $584,182.50.
So move, Zay.
Thank you. Do a second.
Second, Chaplin.
All right, we have a. All right, do we have any questions or comments on this item?
Yeah, I have a quick question.
Yes.
on this. I
Member
just have
Garcia.
a really quick one. This says that it's for food for inmate or for the jail. From what I can tell, it's meals for I believe it's for the sheriff officers and also for the people who are incarcerated. I thought for some reason that when I went through a tour there that the inmates were making the food and the meals. And so I was just trying to figure out, is this food that they're going to be making, or is this actually meals that they're providing? I'm a little, I can't understand exactly what the procedure is in terms of feeding the people who are in the jail. So I just
Okay.
want a little clarification on that.
I think that's a good question. We certainly have Deputy Under Sheriff Philadelphia here. I'm going to answer the question.
Deputy Chief Dan Billy from the Sheriff's Office. That's food that's brought into the jail. The inmate workers in the jail make the food to feed the inmates in the jail and to feed
Okay.
there's a contract for the deputies to eat as well.
Thanks. It was just a little confusing because it said meals, and then I'm like, was this the food they come in? But this is the food that they, and then
We
they
prepare the food in the jail.
and then they bring. Okay, thank you for the clarification.
You're welcome.
Do we have any other comments on this item? Questions? All right, roll call, please.
Member Zay,
Aye.
Chair Renahan,
Aye.
Member Chaplin,
Aye.
Member Covert,
Aye.
Member Desart,
Aye.
Member Eckhoff,
Aye.
Member Garcia,
Aye.
Member Krajewski,
Aye.
Member Ozog,
Aye.
Member Pachowski, Member Schwarzy,
Aye.
Member Selman.
All right, great. That item's approved. I'll take a motion to approve JPSP 6921, a contract with Peter M. King of King Holloway to provide professional services conflict attorney for juvenile cases, May 1st, 2021 through April 30th, 2022 for the 18th Judicial Circuit Court, not to exceed $42,000.
So move, Zay.
Second, Garcia.
All right, thank you. Do we have any questions, comments? Roll call, please.
Member Zay,
Aye.
Chair Renahan,
Aye.
Member Chaplin,
Aye.
Member Covert,
Aye.
Member Desart,
Aye.
Member Eckhoff,
Aye.
Member Garcia,
Aye.
Member Krajewski,
Aye.
Member Ozog,
Aye.
Member Pachowski, Member Schwarzy,
Aye.
Member Selman.
All right, thank you. That's approved. I'll take a motion to approve 2021-33, approval for continued legal representation by O'Hagan Meyer, the Special Assistant State's Attorney, through November 30, 2021, not to exceed $25,000.
So move Garcia.
Second Chaplin.
Second, Chaplin, thank you. Questions, comments? Anyone? A roll call, please.
Member Garcia,
Aye.
Member Krajewski,
Aye.
Member Ozog,
Aye.
Member Pachowski, Member Schwarzy,
Aye.
Member Selman,
Aye.
Member Zay,
Aye.
Chair Renahan,
Aye.
Member Chaplin,
Aye.
Member Covert,
Aye.
Member Desart,
Aye.
Member Echo.
Aye.
All right, thank you. That's approved. And finally, I will take a motion to approve JPSP 7121 recommendation for approval for a contract purchase order to Axon Enterprises to provide the sheriff's office with body cameras and TASER 7 devices for all sworn law enforcement members for a 5-year contract total not to exceed $2,082,414.70 as a sole source provider for the sheriff's office.
So
So
moved.
moved, Desart.
Sorry,
Second Chaplin.
second, Chaplin.
I'm sorry, so is Desart moved, Chaplin second?
Yes. Questions, comments? I see Member Garcia.
Just a question on there. I know we had some grant money that was available to us before. Is there going to be grant money to go towards this a little bit in the future? Or is this something that we can at least pursue in the future?
I think that's the question, you know, we've all been waiting to hear the answer to, so.
Dan Billiter from the Sheriff's Office again. The grant that we've referenced is through the Illinois Law Enforcement Training and Standards Board. It's a reimbursement grant for the purchase of the cameras. The cameras in this proposal are actually being purchased at $699 each. Those are not leased. The stuff that's leased in this proposal is the taser, the equipment that comes with the tasers. So if we are able to get this grant or get this purchase approved in a timely manner, we can apply to the state for the reimbursement. It's about $125,000 towards the cost of the actual camera. So if we get the grant, it's a net zero cost to the county for the cameras themselves. But we have to have that approved. We have to have the cameras here delivered in June, and the program has to be actually up and implemented by the end of July.
Thank you so much.
Questions, comments?
Oh, Member Chaplin.
Member Chaplin.
Yeah, thanks so much. So I was quite pleased to see this new contract come through, almost shaved off $500,000. So I think, you know, I appreciate the work that the Sheriff's Office did on this, and I'll be supporting this today.
Thank you. I saw Member Krajewski's hand up.
Yeah, thank you. I just had two questions, Deputy. The first one, when we talked about, I think the sheriff, last time we spoke, talked about the virtual headset and the mental illness training that you can kind of put yourself into their shoes. I know we've eliminated that. Are we still going to be doing the mental illness training?
Morning, Ed Moore, Under Sheriff DuPage County. We, in negotiations for this particular contract, we did pull that out. We're going to bring that to the table again in the future. That is a piece that we believe we need to have, the virtual reality training. It kind of keeps us COVID safe. It's something that you can pretty much do on your own. And it also puts our officers in a real life scenario so they can feel what's going on with their mental health and other different types of scenario based training.
Yeah, but my question though is, are we, I mean, we're not going to get that, but are we going to do the mental illness training?
Right now, what we're going to consist of, our diversity training is going to have some mental health parts of it. And we're also going to continue the CIT training, which has a mental health issue or section on it.
So we're going to still be doing that training.
Correct.
But we just won't have the virtual one?
Not at this time. We will bring that to the table again, probably at budget time.
Okay. Is there a cost to the training that you're going to be doing?
CIT training, I'm not sure what the actual cost for CIT training is.
Okay. Could I get that before the next meeting?
Correct. Yeah.
I mean, if we're going to be spending money on the training, but we're deferring the other training portion, I just want to know the cost on that.
Definitely the virtual training would save us on role actors and things of that nature. So there could be some cost savings and we would go ahead and purchase the virtual reality and then instead of doing.
Do you know how much those role actors are? I mean, I just like to know what the differential, if we're going to be spending money for these role actors, et cetera, but we're not buying the virtual and then we go buy it down the road. Seems to me that's going to be a waste of money. That we'd be better off getting it today and not spending the money on the roll-off. It's my just opinion, but I don't know numbers. I'd like to see the numbers so I could make that cost analysis.
I'll get to that.
Okay, no, I appreciate it. And then the second question was, we reduced the amount of tasers. And I remember the discussion was when we had things like the Ryder Cup or the PGA at Medina, when we had much more officers on duty. What are we going to do on events like that then, where we don't have enough tasers for everybody that's working an event?
We'll have but everybody on those events, if they're not law enforcement or are assigned to our law enforcement bureau, they will not have a taser that will have an axon activation. So there will be tasers, but in order to make this work, we did cut the amount of tasers we're going to release.
So we'll have people at these events, i.e. like the Ryder Cup or the PGA that we're at Medina, that won't have tasers with cameras, or that won't have the cameras that are activated with the tasers, like the discussion last week.
Correct.
Is that a good thing?
I don't know if I'm actually here to say if it's good or bad. That was what.
I mean, I would think we want to have everybody who is working to have the taser with the camera activation.
Yeah, I think the objective here was to, kind of thread the needle on what's required through the safety legislation point in terms of body cameras versus, making sure that, all contingencies are met.
But if we're doing events in the county and we're going to require to have these people there, I would think we'd want them to have that with a taser with the activation. And, I mean, I guess the requirement is to have everybody have these things. And if we're going to have some of these events where we have a need for multiple officers, they should all have one, in my opinion.
Yeah. And I think that's one of those questions that, we might find the answer to in a trailer bill, because right now we're not quite sure how many people have to have these cameras and how many have to have the tasers. I think that is an unanswered question in the legislation, but I think you bring up a good point. So, Member Zag.
Yeah, a couple of things. Just first of all, you said there were negotiations on this. I mean, after the last discussion, my issue was, where are we getting the funding on this? Obviously, we talked as another unfunded mandate. I mean, are we being penny wise and dollar foolish? We're not training our guys. We're not doing the mental health component. I mean, if I'm going to give our deputies this item, cameras and tasers, I want them to be the best trained, to make sure they have the best capabilities, and make sure it protects our residents the way it's supposed to. I mean, I don't understand when you said there was negotiations, I don't get it. Again, we had a discussion. I know members on this board have said, where is this money coming from? We had a presentation 2 months ago that says it's going to cost us upwards of 60 million or whatever. Even if we're off, it's still off by 50%, it's still 30 million. Now we have an appropriation here for 2 million. No one still has said where this money is coming from. And as again, if we think this is just the tip of the iceberg, I know in your presentation, you said you're going to need additional people, head count, to implement this. What's going to happen then? What does that happen then at the clerk's office? What does that happen at the public defender? What happens then at the state's attorney's office? Where are we going with this? How come there hasn't been a really discussion of how we're going to fund this the way it should be? I mean, if it's to take it completely out of reserves all the time, I think there needs to be a bigger discussion at this point. But again, I don't want to we're cutting corners and worried about grants. Again, grant 100,000 out of 2 million. I mean, really? I mean, I would rather make sure that our deputies are getting the mental health training and getting all the training they need, and make sure if we do have tasers, they're hooked up to the cameras. Because you know what, in the long run, maybe that saves us millions of dollars in a lawsuit because someone does something and it wasn't hooked up and we were trying to save some money and it's going to cost us down the road millions of dollars. I mean, if we're going to do this, let's make sure our deputies have the best equipment and funded completely on this. But again, where are we getting the money from this? I don't understand. And then negotiations, why was the 500,000? I would think mental health training is something that we need more than ever right now. We know it's a problem out there. More than ever, that will be one of the last things I would cut out of this contract.
I do have a question. I see that COD does have they just obtained a virtual reality platform for their criminal education. Is that something that can be used as well?
We could speak with COD. I'm sure they would allow us to partner with them and possibly use their facility.
Okay, and it's also my understanding that the virtual training, you're thinking about bringing it back and it would be qualified under next year's budget, so it would not be taken out of reserves. It's kind of the idea.
Correct.
Member Pachowski.
Other counties are in the same position we are. Are they doing the same thing? You guys talked to, other collar counties. Are they progressing as we are? Or are they not doing this? Do you know?
Population wise, unfortunately, we're one of the very few counties that has to do this right now.
Oh, because it's over.
Because of population. Cook County Sheriff's Police already uses Axon Taser body cameras. Winnebago County is using Axon Taser body cameras. I'm not sure what Lake County is looking at. Kane County looked at some other
Because the
products.
financial impact of this is much greater than what we're voting on today, correct? I mean, obviously, this is going to impact state's attorney. It's going to impact public defender. It's going to impact the clerk's office. I don't know how much more it's going to be, but it's hard to vote on something and we don't know what it's actually going to cost because all these other intangibles are not put into this thing. And I don't like unfunded mandates, but help from Springfield, I'm going to play the lotto and we'll do that way then. So, I'm glad we're doing these things. And again, I think mental health issues are really a big concern and we have to address those issues. But the financial impact to the county is overwhelming. And I don't know what that number is. And it's kind of scary that I'm voting on something. I can't tell you what other components this are and what that is going to cost this county.
Member Garcia.
Yeah, thank you. I'm in total agreement with mental health. I mean, it is a huge deal right now. I'm not going to say it's not, but let me get some clarification from you if I can. You did say there is some training with this on mental health. I mean, in terms of diversity, in terms of mental health, there is some training, just not the virtual. Is that correct?
We do have a CIT program that we do have up and running. And once COVID relaxes a little bit more, we'll have the classes starting again. We are working to establish a diversity training program that will include some of that. We're waiting on approval of the platform by the Training and Standards Board. So yes, we do. This was just an enhancing component to bring a lot more scenario-based things to life.
Okay, so we're not talking about there's no training in this whatsoever. There is training available, and after COVID, it's even going to ramp up a little bit more. Just to be clear.
Correct.
Okay, okay, that answers my question. Thank you.
The statute requires training, and we already are one of the leaders in CIT in this county as it is. I mean, we are train the trainer type, quality here. But I would like, Deanna, if you could speak a little bit to time is of the essence if we want to try to get this grant. Can you walk us through the timeline, please?
We have to apply for the grant by, I believe it's May 15th. Correct, it's May 15th. We have to actually apply with our total dollar amount, which for this would be about $125,000. And we're going to try to go back and get some money back from the WatchGuard cameras that we purchased last year as well. That is done then. They have to be bought by June, mid-June, and the program has to be actually up and running and implemented by the end of July. And it's a bit of a heavy lift on the grant side. So that's why we asked for the personnel as well. But it's an aggressive timeline. I think we could make it if we can move a little bit quicker.
Member Zag.
What exactly was eliminated from the last proposal?
We took out a few tasers. We took out the mental health, the virtual reality training, and we had asked for a sergeant to administer the body cam program because it's very labor intensive, and 2 administrative specialists, but we cut that back to 1 with the understanding that once we start getting some data and information and really realizing just how much work goes into the reporting, the FOIAs, the redaction, the video polling, we might need to actually come back and ask for that second person, if not even more.
But that's not in this proposal, right?
Right now, the
The head
proposal,
count?
correct. Well,
I mean, this is the head count then's on top of this. This is all come in a separate.
This is equipment only. The head count being in
Equipment
addition
only.
to this.
Okay. So again, no one has said where this is coming from, how we paying for this. I mean,
That's what we're.
Jeff, do we know where this is coming from? We do have a magic pot here somewhere that I don't know about.
So I've given this particular program, body cameras, a lot of thought. And this particular program will cost about $500,000 or $600,000 over 5 years. One of the things that we can do is with the new stimulus money is take items for capital projects that are funded from the general fund and use that money over the 5 years to pay for that. That frees up money in the general fund. So to pay for this program, we will need to factor that into next year's budget and future budgets. But hopefully we can push some things into a capital projects fund and free up some of that money to fund this particular program. The issue of the other departments and having to bring on additional staff, that is the quandary. That, you know, our initial run at this was $63 million, which is about $12 million a year. That, unfortunately, at this point, I don't have an answer for. You know, if we were to do all of this right now, other programs within the county would probably suffer and have to be cut. That's the reality of it. When we talk about a property tax levy, we're property tax capped. We can only generate about $1.5 million a year in new property taxes. I'm not advocating that either, but our revenue sources, being a non-home rule community, are fairly limited. So right now, again, if we were forced to do the entire program based on the presentation that we saw 2 months ago, the only way to fund this is other programs within the county would probably have to be cut to free up that additional money.
Well, I mean,
What about last year's CARES Act sweep though?
Well, that was one of the options, is to fund, again, the body cameras, this particular program. But when you bring on additional headcount, that is an operating cost that unfortunately goes on. You know, you have to factor that into each year's budget. It's just not a one-time cost. You can use some, I'm sure we could use some of that new stimulus money to fund maybe a couple of years, but you know, future planning, we would have to develop a revenue source or a stream of money to fund this entire program, whether it's $63 million or less. You know, I think the $63 million was our best guesstimate, conservative guesstimate at that time. Hopefully it won't be that much. And we're going to work with those other departments as we progress into this. So the long answer is, to fund the body cameras, we can use new stimulus money, free up other money in the general fund. But the ongoing headcount is something that we have to continually work towards in funding that.
and this is, if it's coming out of reserves, where I would assume this is coming out of for this contract. I mean, that's what I've heard, right?
Yes, well, we will be
That
bringing
would be
forth
an-
an additional appropriation ordinance.
That would take a supermajority vote of 15 to
Yes.
pass. Okay, thank you.
But wouldn't it just be the $545,000 for the first year coming out of the
I think we're
reserves?
going to put an additional headcount. I think the total came to about $900,000 for this current year. Next fiscal year? For this current fiscal year.
So it's not the whole.
It's
two-
not the
is what
whole
I'm saying.
thing. We can pay for this over 5 years.
Right.
Again, the body camera program, I think we can fund, but you know, we talked about additional headcount for the other departments, state's attorney, circuit court clerk. You know, that's our challenge, funding wise.
I think it's important to remember when we had that conversation, now it's been a month ago, but I think we've learned quite a bit since then. Jason Blumenthal is still working through a lot of information from other jurisdictions. We looked at a very worst case scenario, and I think we're going to find, members A, we're going to find that it is, you know, $63 million is probably not going to be the nut. It's going to be far less than that. So that's what I anticipate. I'm not going to put anyone on the spot right now because we are still working through issues. But I mean, this is the first bite that has to be done. We know this is a statutory requirement. We know that we need to be up and running. We know our sheriff's office wants it and is ready to adopt the program. In fact, they're ready to get their sergeant up and rolling right away. So did I see somebody's hand up? Member Shorzy.
And Jeff, just, you're talking about reserves. I think last meeting you mentioned that we're about 37%. The reserve fund.
Well, you're going to be up to about 50% now with I think at the last meeting, we talked about the transfer from the CARES fund for our public safety. You'll be about 50% now in the general fund, our reserves.
So talk about spending, you said 900,000.
900,000 for the first year, and then I think it's $600,000 for the remaining years, just for the body camera program. Yeah.
Just out of curiosity, how are our reserves funded annually?
Well, they build, if you will, through a couple of different areas. Our revenues will exceed expenses, but mainly our expenditures historically have been under budget, and that helps to build the reserve balances.
Goes into the.
Yeah, that goes to the bottom line, correct.
That's all. Thank you.
Member Solomon, I see your hands up on the screen there.
Thank you. Sorry, my question kind of goes back to the helmets. We were talking about how expensive those were, and I know that this is such a passion of the sheriff. So I have no doubt in my mind that he is making sure that you guys will have the training you need. But I know the helmets are something you guys are really excited about. Is there an opportunity to collaborate with, sort of like Member Renahan mentioned with COD, but with some of the other police departments in the county? I'm thinking maybe the bigger ones that they might have to meet these requirements sooner like we are, or is it something that really needs to be owned by each department?
It's a program that's run through Axon Taser. It's an entire proprietary platform that they have. They deliver the training themselves, and each user has a license, because then your training history is tracked through them and that information is reported. So if you partnered with other entities, you would have to actually partner to have user license.
Shared licenses, yeah, okay. And then for the events conversation that we had, would there really be a scenario, let's say, we're hosting Medina or something, and so we have extra staffing there. That's not 100% of our staffing, correct? So not every piece of equipment would be in use for those events. So is it really a possibility that we would have people at events without the Axon tasers?
Yes.
And how, can you maybe explain that a little bit more, like why that happens? Or I guess I'm not understanding the staffing levels that would get you to a point where everybody's out and so all the equipment's out. Okay. Is it rare or that sort of thing?
Well, that would be very rare to have all of us out at once at any given time. But the equipment is deployed in different areas of the agency. We have court security, we have corrections, we have law enforcement, and that equipment is spread out over all the areas, and the equipment is assigned to individual users, which has actually increased the life on most of it because people tend to take care of things that is assigned to them. So body cams would be with an individual. If I had mine, I wouldn't necessarily hand it off to somebody else.
I see. Okay. So it's like assigned to the officer. That makes sense. And then my last is just sort of a comment to follow up on what Member Renahan has said, is I know we're all concerned about the big presentation we got with the big numbers, and I want to thank everyone who's worked to refine that and slim it down. And it's not just this committee. I want to thank our legislative committee and Member Desart and Cheryl. I know they have their eyes on any trailer, anything that could help us with the financial obligations of this bill. So thank you, everyone who's got sort of all hands on deck to fix this. Thanks.
Thank you, Member Solomon. I see Member Ozak.
Thank you, Chair Renahan. I just want to clarify. So you've got a special event, and is it a scenario possible where some people would have body cams without the taser, the connection to the weapon or the holster, etc.? Would everyone have a body cam, but not everybody has the next level of equipment, or would it be expected that everyone you have to have? Do you understand? Is that making sense? That can you have a level of complete coverage with both the equipment, the taser, the body cam, and then body cam only, depending on, what an event like the golf outings, that sort of thing?
Depending on the size of the special event, there could be an opportunity where everybody wouldn't have to have the complete coverage. For instance, like the PGA, the golf outing, you figure normally I have 115 people assigned to law enforcement bureau. So I would not have a total of 115 people out, all 115 people, law enforcement personnel out of Medina because of our regular functions. Right. For the last Medina outing, when we looked at starting this program, the most amount of people I had working that detail, I think, was 31. So 31 individuals. So we had an actual bank of 31 cameras that we'll have just in case we have a situation for people from court security or corrections that we work in these functions. Unfortunately, we had to cut some of those tasers out for the taser 7. They won't have that activation modification like all the law enforcement people will have, the law enforcement staff will have. So there could be a situation where they'll have a camera on, but they won't have the automated camera not turn on automatically because they don't have their taser.
So they wouldn't have the part where if they reach for their arms, that it would not connect to automatically turn the camera on.
Correct. A single sign-on function.
But they would be covered with the camera though.
Correct.
Okay, thank you.
I just kind of want to clarify here. I guess the objective in speaking with the sheriff's office was to find the compromise between what the sheriff wants and what the statute requires. The reduction in the amount of tasers was a suggestion of the sheriff's office. And so it's something that can certainly be revisited in the next year's budget. But I just wanted everybody to know kind of, you know, how we came to this. And I see Member Desart.
I was not planning to rise and speak to this issue today because I spent some time on the phone with Eddie and with Dan and got my questions answered. But I am very frustrated by this conversation right now, Chairwoman Renahan. And that frustration lies in the fact that we have, this board votes on items based on fact, based on numbers. And I'm looking at page 114 right now that clearly says that this is the decision page. And it clearly says that this year's ask will be $545,000. Next year's ask will be $384,000. And that continues in year 3, 4, 5. And then we have a CFO up there somehow sliding the numbers and saying that just this body cam ask is now $900,000 for this year and $600,000 for next year and the following years. How can the CFO slide the numbers $400,000 when we have a decision page here on 114 telling us what the numbers are? So are we voting on the numbers that were in the packet, or are we voting on the sliding fee, which is $400,000 more than our decision page? I don't understand where these numbers are coming from.
Jeff Martinowitz is coming up.
I apologize for the confusion. I was just trying to come up with an answer to how the program will be funded. The 900,000 for this year also includes an additional headcount that the sheriff's office is proposing. So what you're voting on today does not include that headcount in there. When we come back in a couple of weeks, we will have to provide you with an appropriation ordinance of about $900,000 that will include their additional headcount to be funded with this.
So when I spoke with Under Sheriff Moore and Dan yesterday, they said that what they're asking for in a head count is 1 sheriff's deputy and 1 assistant. So you're saying 1 sheriff's deputy and 1 assistant for 1 year will cost us $400,000?
If I may, the taser program, the Axon taser body camera program is $545,000 the first year. There's actually a lot of things that are built into this. The headcount increase, that was an error on my part. There was a miscommunication. I didn't send over the request for that headcount increase to come today. So we're gonna have to revisit that. But that, for that sergeant and that administrative specialist for the first year is approximately $220,000 with benefits. So that's part of what's built into this 960. There's also a couple of other components that are in here that we had to already establish that we're looking at funding for our internal affairs tracking program, for our mandate training tracking program. Those things together all stack up to that $960,000 that Jeff is referring to for this first year cost. That's why that number is so big. And I think that, I don't want to speak for Jeff, but I think he was just kind of extrapolating out that extra 200,000 plus over the out years for that staffing. That's why he was saying it was getting closer to 600,000 for years 2 through 5.
Thanks, Dan. So we are voting on what is on the decision memo from page 114, which is what I said earlier, the 545,000 in the subsequent years. And then the sliding fee up to $900,000 is the additional staff that's needed. So thank you for clarifying that. This is what we're voting on today, not the extra 400,000. Thank you.
Thank you, Member Sart. The sheriff's office also did come down in the number of people that they had planned to use, and it was an oversight. It was not intentional. That we're not voting on that today. Member Chaplin.
Yes, thank you, Chairman Hen. So just regarding these tasers and the sheriff. So what I'm reading in the memo from the sheriff was regarding the tasers. They're they want to proceed with the 180 body cameras. They'll reduce the number of tasers to an additional 40 as opposed to 72. This would allow to have all uniformed frontline personnel equipped with body camera and a taser. So and then their investigators and command staff will not have the taser devices, but they'll have to have the body camera, but they'll have a body camera assigned to them. So if all uniformed officers are going to be equipped with a taser, I'm not sure why we'd have a problem at an event like the golf tournament. If we have all uniformed sheriff deputies with tasers, I'm not following why that we may not have, coverage at a golf tournament. But also I thought I heard earlier that one of the undersheriffs mentioned that at these events, I would take it from past, not all sheriffs, or maybe there's security people there as well that aren't carrying guns necessarily, or maybe that they don't have all the equipment. But to me, this looks like we're being pretty responsible because all the uniformed officers in front line will have the tasers. And I just want to stress again what Chair Renahan had mentioned. I think it's important that we keep separate what is required in this bill and what is additional. So the tasers are not required in this bill. And I think to get a true cost of what this bill is going to cost us, we can't throw in other items. So, so like I said, the mental health training, I still think we can provide mental health training without the helmets. And I'm even wondering, does the Sheriff's Association have a training program for mental health, the Illinois Sheriff's Association, or does our health department, are there some kind of social workers that we can work with the mental health training as well that might bring those costs down a little bit?
Thank you, Member Chaplin. In the interest of time, I think we don't want to lose our quorum at some point. I'm going to call on Member Krajewski.
Thank you. Again, I'm just going back to the enhanced mental health training with the virtual, and we're going to talk about it down the road. Again, I still think that that's an important issue, and I would like to know, because we're going to do the training, you mentioned it already, and you're going to get the role actors. I'd like to know how much that costs. I mean, how much are we going to spend for doing the role actors and doing the mental health training? And then what's the cost of this program that we're going to look at a year from now? And it seems to me that we're going to be spending a lot more money, because if we wait 1 year, 2 years, we're still going to get this virtual training program. And then we've spent all this money for this, which I don't know what the cost is because I haven't seen it. So before I make a vote, I'd like to have that this week, just how much you guys envision on spending for it. And I know you said this is enhanced. Again, I think, we're always the leaders here in DuPage County. We're always the first ones to do stuff. I think we want to be the one to do an enhanced training for mental health. I mean, I just think we should, and it doesn't matter that the bill doesn't require it. I just think we should be doing this. Thank you.
I'd just like to respond to that. We're voting on a sole source of the tasers, the cameras. Mental health training is a separate item. We are doing that. We are, doing our responsibility currently right now. That is an add-on that is outside body cameras. So I understand that it's the same company, Axon. I understand that there's something there. My understanding is when you have body cameras, you can also use some of the footage as a training mechanism, which also saves money. So I'm not sure that that's within the scope of what we're voting on today.
We eliminated it. We talked about it last board meeting. We're going to include that, and now we've eliminated it. So again, I don't feel comfortable eliminating that part of the program.
Any other comments? All right, I guess with that, roll call vote, please. And one last comment. I would like to thank the Sheriff's Office. I mean, you really did work hard to compromise. You took some items off. You asked for maybe next time we'll bring it back, and I really do appreciate, what you've done to try to make this work. Thank you. Roll call, please.
Member Desart?
Aye.
Member Eckhoff?
Aye.
I'm sorry, you said aye?
Yes.
Member Garcia?
Aye.
Member Krajewski,
No.
Member Ozog,
Yes, aye.
Member Pachalski, Member Schwarzy,
Aye.
Member Selman,
Aye.
Member Zay,
Aye.
Chair Renahan,
Aye.
Member Chaplin,
Aye.
Member Cole.
Aye.
All right, thank you. That is approved. I appreciate everyone's thoughtfulness on that item. Do we have any old business? Do we have any new business? Do I have a motion to adjourn?
Second.
Do I have a second?
Second Garcia.
Give it a roll call.
Member Pachalski, Member Schwarzy,
Aye.
Member Selman,
Aye.
Member Zay, Chair Renahan,
Aye.
Member Chaplin,
Aye.
Member Covert,
Aye.
Member Desart,
Aye.
Member Eckhoff,
Aye.
Member Garcia,
Aye.
Member Krajewski,
Aye.
Member Ozog.
Aye.
Well, we're adjourned.